Hello and welcome to the show. I am back on a BeamNG drive with 3 more vehicles trying to survive the Wreckoning for as long as possible. We start with the Volkswagen Scirocco. I quite like this generation. Actually, I like all the generations of Sciroccos. I do quite like the older Sciroccos, and it is really cool to see one of these in Beam. I am hoping it might do relatively well. It is a front-wheel drive car, which can at times be a bit of a weakness around here. A lot of damage tends to affect the front of the vehicles. Now, it does mean that if we damage the rear wheels, much like we saw with the Pazima touring car, well, to an extent at least with the touring car, we can damage the rear wheels a fair amount and it'll, well, keep on going. They kind of are just there to balance the car. That being said, of course, a lot of the damage tends to be done to the front regardless. As we go across these bumps, it's the front wheels that will generally take the big impacts. Now, how are we doing with speed? We are fast enough, although it's been a very, very awkward... It was a very awkward flight, an awkward twist through the air. However, we got away with the landing. We landed quite heavily on the front right. That being said, it was actually a relatively smooth landing. More damage was done to the... Oh, we're going to go for a tumble. That's a crunch and a rolly over Volkswagen. It's a lot of damage, damage to the roof. It's, yeah, the rear left is a concern. I don't know. Yeah, the rear left has collapsed from what was a very heavy front right impact. Now, I guess that's from where the car kind of bounced back down after that heavy front impact, just overloaded the rear suspension. That's an odd one, though. That is an odd one to say the least. The good news is the radiator is still in one piece. The car is pulling a little bit to the right, but it's not the worst I have dealt with so far. It's not undrivable as of yet, so we can keep on going. Now, how much speed have we got in this car? It is going to be enough to clear that jump. There goes the... Bloody typical. There goes the radiator. I imagine it would probably have been weakened from those last few crashes, or at least if not physically weakened itself, other bits and pieces, sort of supports and whatnot, bent out of the way until it was going to be the thing that gets hit. We have got a fair amount of oversteer going on with this car now. Oh, that's not going to be a fun time. Ow. That's not a great place to start nosediving your way through the air. Oh, come on, Scirocco, you can make it onto, at least make it onto a second lap, at least make it past the horrendous car-killing jump. It's going to have quite a way to go if it's going to become the furthest front-wheel drive car. That would be the Pazima, the modern Pazima, 2.7 litre, I think it was a V6 Pazima, that actually did very, very well onto its third lap. I'm not sure we're going to have, well, the temperature I think will overheat before we get to that stage. We don't have one of the crazy turbocharged engines, so it is perhaps going to overheat a little bit slower. That rear wheel, in fact, I think both the rear wheels are starting to be on the hurty side and are causing us a little bit of grief. Again, it's not quite as bad as the complete wobble-matic wheels that we had going on from the Pazima touring car. Now, if we can make it across, this second lap jump has killed many a vehicle. I would like to see the Scirocco survive this. Come on, Volkswagen. We can do it. We can make it across here. Oh, we're going to go for a big old... It's a big old hit again on the front right, but it keeps on going. That's a tough old wheel. That is a seriously strong wheel to have taken 2 big hits. Still gonna keep going. Now the temperature gauge has got to about the halfway mark, but it's not kind of hit the top yet, which is nice to see. Some cars overheat very, very quickly. This one, I mean, it will eventually. It's inevitable that it will overheat. However, it is doing well so far. We head over the rollers. Yeah, that rear suspension is not good. It is not good at all, but thankfully it's not affecting us so much that we can't get the acceleration for the jumps. That's what kills us. When you lose the ability to accelerate or the ability to control your way up towards the jumps, that is what can see your car go out of the Wreckoning. So, okay, we've tweaked the steering a fair bit. steering is now pulling a little bit more to the right than it was previously. But again, we were going quick enough that while we did clonk the floor a little bit, it wasn't on the too horrendously terrible side. It looks like we might be able... I say no, don't say anything, don't say anything, don't say anything, because we're going to go twist ourselves massively off of the pit. And there we go. That will be the curse of the bloody commentator once more in full effect for Scirocco. It was going very well. I was busy, trying to straighten up the car. You can see how much the steering's tweaked. And in doing so, we flew slightly wonky across the pit, and that would take out the wheel axle. And once that's gone, we are not going to have any drive whatsoever. In fact, it doesn't seem to have any brakes either on that front right wheel. You can see on the little telemetry thing, I am going on the brakes and that wheel is not stopping spinning. That would be another concern. That would be another big cause for concern in this in this vehicle. Yeah, well, it did very, very well. I will give it credit for that. It did survive very well for a front-wheel drive car. The front right took a hell of a battering. I think in the end it was too much asked, essentially, of the front with all of those impacts, and it would eventually give way. And now we have lost all of the drive, but still a good showing indeed from the Volkswagen. Well, the front-wheel drive Volkswagen certainly did not do too badly around this course. We are going to have a go with another front-wheel drive car. This, the Sunburst hatchback. Now, this is a relatively low kind of spec of Sunburst. Of course, all of the higher tier ones will use all-wheel drive. I don't think I've ever actually driven a front-wheel drive Sunburst, so I am curious to see how this one will fare and how the hatchback will manage. Of course, our leader is a convertible Sunburst. Admittedly, it had considerably more power than this particular one. Not that this is massively sluggish. It's got the 2-litre engine, so it isn't too bad in terms of the old performance. We're going to clonk and smack our way down that section. I'm not sure if I'm in the right gear here or not. We are going to make it, in fact, very, very cleanly make it across that jump. It was in the right gear across there. At least we certainly found enough speed to be doing that with it. Clear the next jump. Actually, not too bad. Not too bad. For what is one? I think it's one tier above the very base model. This does not do too badly for the old performance side. It's clearing these jumps at the moment with a little bit to spare, and that is very, very critical. It's going to get damaged. It is inevitable around this circuit. The car is going to be broken. It's how well it deals with being broken, whether it can still, get the speed, get the acceleration. I've just realised I haven't turned off the traction control in this one. That would explain why it is, there we go, we'll get rid of that, my bad. And that way it was a couple of times here struggling and not wanting to put the power down. Got to turn off the traction control in these cars, otherwise when they start getting damaged, the traction control has a hissy fit trying to put any power down, and it will not work. In fact, that was very nicely done across... Oh, we're going to come back down again, thank you. Across that big jump. We did smack the front a little bit across the motocross section. However, radiator's still in one piece, although it's likely to have loosened bodywork and just weakened that the general front of the car. Across the pit we go. Big hit on the landing. Nasty landing to the pit. If we were going to go for... I'm not sure, is that a slower speed roll than we got with the... with the car last week? Was it the Pazima? I think it was the Pazima that went over at about 3 miles an hour. No, it was the Miramar, because I spun it. It was the Miramar, sorry, that spun. It was a rear-wheel drive rally car. Spun it across one of the jumps, and it was about 3 miles an hour that caused the Miramar to go over. I didn't quite notice at what speed that eventually tumbled over at, but we are going for some very, very low speed rolls in this series. We are got a little bit of concern regarding the state of the front wheels. We are now seeming to struggle in terms of putting down any of that any of that power. I think we can get away with it for now. It's just whether things start getting bent up or buckled anymore, that is when we might come a little bit of a cropper to the damage and the old one-tire fires that we definitely don't want to be seeing from this vehicle. We're going to clonk our way on to the bridge. Now, let's not spin the car coming down here. That's not clever. That is really not clever from this one. The bumps are horrible there, and it is very easy to get caught out by them. Just thrown around to oblivion, essentially, by the bumps in that section. I'm not going to change up because we didn't have a particularly great run. We are across there, though, very nicely for the second time of asking. Nice to see more cars surviving. Nice to see more cars surviving that jump. Claimed so many victims early on. Oh, the radiator's gone. But it did well. The radiator did very well to make it that far on its second lap. Now the Pazima, our furthest position front-wheel drive car, is a lap 3 at that particular crest. If we can go further than that, we would be doing very, very well indeed. Overheating-wise, with what is a relatively lower-powered engine, we might be a tad better off. However, if it's too low-powered, you end up having to work it so hard to get a heady speed for the jumps, that also overheats it relatively quickly. So, it's, yeah. I think this might be in about the right sort of area for decent enough performance. Oh, we've got all sorts of tweaked steering going on now as we head into the motocross section. Yeah, it's the crazy turbocharged engines overheat very, very quickly, as you can imagine. The very underpowered, like the big lazy V8s, especially from the Delta 88, they can overheat very quickly when you work them hard. This engine is... I actually don't know what the 2-litre Sunburst engine, not a naturally aspirated one, is... likely to be doing. Of course, with the powerful V8s, the sort of naturally aspirated, very powerful V8s, you can't physically run them as hard. Oh, that's a big jump there. You physically can't run them as hard because the cars are busy spinning their wheels. So you've got to be very, very careful with those and sort of short shifting with them. You can survive, whereas in a car like this, where you don't have that option, you've got to put your foot down to make sure you get the speed up for the jumps. That's where the overheating will come from. We are struggling a little bit with steering. It's not, though, to the extent that's going to put the car out, and it's also not to the extent in which we are going to be forced to really run along the potholes in Pothole Alley. It's not great. It is pulling us a fair bit to the left as we try and fight and get away with all of that. We will make it onto our third lap. The Sunburst. Oh, that's a big... There's a big pothole there. The Sunburst doing very, very... It seems like this is a Sunburst circuit. The last circuit, Baja Rama, was very much, well, Grand Marshal, the big American boats. I mean, they certainly do well around here. There is no doubt about that with those big American cars. The Sunburst has proved to be a mighty, mighty tough contender, although this is asking a lot of the car now. It's a big twist through the air from the front-wheel drive hatchback. It has made it, though. It continues to make it. If we can do this jump, if we can survive this is the next big car-killing section, and we're over it cleanly, although we've just skidded along the road on our roof. Again, as I said before, if it's on its roof, certainly for the first couple of times, it's not too much of a problem. Do it multiple times and you risk tweaking the chassis, and that can give you some big issues. But the first couple of times, of course, the roof will deform, and that will take all the impact from the crashes. We are going to have a new front-wheel drive leader in this Sunburst hatchback, which is very, very good going indeed. Anything to make it onto lap 3 full stop is doing pretty damn well at this circuit, let alone a front-wheel drive relatively low-spec Sunburst. The question is, how far can it go? How far will this Sunburst last? Oh, don't twist like that. We've again got a car surviving some very, very big blows to the front wheels. Still happy to keep on working. Come on, Sunburst. Apparently a very heavy Sunburst, this one. Doesn't want to be righted so easily. But, there we go. We're over. We're good to carry on. My primary concern right now is I think the steering actually has sorted itself out. It was pulling a lot more to the left. It's now not pulling quite as badly. But yeah, the big concern with this car is, well, this isn't gonna be fun. Just bounced around. We might get away with landing, yeah, in between the crests of the pit right there. The steering is going to inevitably getting hurt and hurt. Losing control just as you approach a big jump is something that has seen a number of cars go out, and now we've lost a rear wheel. Well, we've lost a straight rear wheel at least. It is not at an angle a car's wheel should ever be at. But it keeps on going. It keeps on going. I mean, these sunburst engines are apparently ridiculously strong, or maybe it's the way that we are breaking the radiator. I mean, it's only a very minor leak that is has got these cars. I think it was a 2-litre turbo engine. I imagine it probably would be that was in the convertible that ran so very far, although we are in all sorts of trouble in terms of handling down Pothole Alley. This is just a go... Oh! Ow! Ow, indeed. That's the danger of losing the wheels. That is the danger of losing the wheels. You try to get the car back under control and it's just pulling around all over the place. And I mean, you can see the engine is, well, there. Well, say the engine, the gearbox or whatever it is there, sticking out the bottom as the suspension gets collapsed, kind of bouncing it down Pothole Alley. I can't get the speed up to kind of glide over them I say elegantly, but you can't get the speed up to kind of keep yourself above the other potholes, and you just clonk one after the other. We haven't seen the potholes take out the engine before. That is a new one for the Sunburst. I think it's only the second vehicle to have a main engine failure as the cause for it going out. But that is going to be the Sunburst hatchback done. But, oops, didn't mean to press that button, my bad. But that is going to be a new record for a front-wheel drive car. Couldn't quite make it on to lap number 4, but brilliant, brilliant showing nevertheless. Our final vehicle today is quite the beast. This, the DH Outlaw Custom, is by far and away the heaviest duty off-road vehicle to take on the Wreckoning. I mean, look at the suspension it's got going on. It is designed to survive some seriously tough off-roading. However, there are a couple of downsides. While yes, it is a monstrously powerful vehicle, so much power we shouldn't have issues clearing the jumps at any point, this is one of the cars that will take one big crash and that will be game over. There is you know, a lot of speed on tap and good suspension, but if you tweak something, it is quite easy to, well, snap off the wheels. The loss of the wing is another thing that I'm concerned about. While I don't think it's quite going to be the same as the spec of this I took around the Baja Rama circuit, that was a crazy hill climb car, but still, we lose the downforce, we might not quite fly so nicely over the jumps. If we get everything perfectly lined up, we should land the jumps with no problem whatsoever. Well, relatively no problem whatsoever. I don't think we broke anything in that. We just go for a spin. But, yeah, the suspension should be more than capable of dealing with these landings. However, if it starts twisting, the wheels are so exposed and liable to go for a little bit of a, well, an adventure on their own, shall we say. Unfortunately, we need all of them on our vehicle to, well, I say all of them. We might be able to get away with loss of one wheel. I'd just rather we didn't. I mean, one of the rear wheels, we could probably... We have actually survived a few cars with 3 wheels. I think the problem is if we lost a wheel, it would be so awkward getting across the jumps that it wouldn't be able to land it neatly and it would just tear another one off very, very quickly. The loss of the wing, as I mentioned earlier, fair amount of aero going on with a crazy car such as this one. Less so with this version than the hill climb version, but I still don't want to find out what happens when we lose that wing. Fly nicely across there. Bloody typical. Speak of the devil, and well, there goes the wing. Crap. I guess we have to find out how this car handles without the rear downforce as we come up towards these next jumps. Oh, that's okay. Well, that a little bit. Well, that a little bit on the twitchy side. It's not really where we want to be going. Get the nose up, please. We can actually get away with a little bit of in-air control with this vehicle because of the huge off-road tyres. As they're kind of flying through the air, if you boot the throttle, you can get the nose to come up slightly. If you jump on the brakes, you can get the nose to dive. You do actually have the tiniest modicum of twisting control as well with the steering when the vehicle is in the air. It isn't very much, you know, certainly not like GTA 5, for example, but if you turn the steering while you're in the air, you can kind of ever so slightly affect the flight path. Not perhaps enough to save the vehicle from tremendous mistake, but from tiniest mistakes you can get away with it. We are going to make it on to our second lap with the Outlaw. It's so far it's okay. We got a bit of a big oversteer moment coming up towards the pit that we got away with. These tyres have very little grip on tarmac. They're very good on the dirt, but awful to drive around the tarmac. Suspension's still holding up. If one of the suspension, one of the shocks, etc., does collapse, that also can cause some very, very big problems. They are strong, but we can do some serious damage to suspension around here, and if one of them does go, it tends to take the rest of the car with. Again, on the next jump, it'll tend to just give way, and something else will go as well. Something catastrophic tends to happen. Across we go on to the next jump. Still, everything is landing the jumps well enough. We're not overloading any of the wheels. We're not losing the wheels. We're not losing the drive shaft. I don't know if we can lose the drive shaft. I don't know where the drive shaft, or quite how the drive shaft is done in this car with the engine in such an interesting position alongside you. Is a I don't know how many of these kind of crazy off-road buggies have engines beside you. I can't say I've ever actually seen a real one. I'm sure there are, but it's an interesting layout of engine as we are going to fly across the biggest of our jumps once more. It's that landing. Don't snap a wheel off, please. Oh, that's the thing that you hate. That's what I was talking about in terms of the danger. Oh, okay, we've not killed it immediately on that. But that is not a happy-looking Outlaw anymore. Yeah, that's problems. That's big problems for us. We got the landing okay, but it just bounced back up. Something that, again, can happen to the heavy-duty off-road vehicles. If, oh, we're going to fly through there. Okay, we're better that time around. We don't have a big oversteer moment. Oh, no, nose up, nose up, nose up, nose up. Ah. Oh, we're going to go twist and a brake chance. Oh, that's all the drive shaft's gone. That's half shaft right, I don't know, a lot of drive shaft broke in that. I couldn't get the nose to go back up again across that jump. I think we lost the front drive shaft and we lost the drive to one of the rear wheels. Yeah, one wheel is working at the moment, and that is the rear right, is the only wheel that wants to drive, and that just locks and doesn't do anything. That was a big crash. I think it was, as I kind of said, it was always likely when we get that cartwheeling crash, once that happens once, you just brake, you twist stuff in the vehicle, and it can't take the jumps as neatly, and then the exposed wheels is always liable to taking a big hit, snapping these wheels off. Look at the size of the damn tyres. They're massive, massive targets for damage. It did well. Again, let's face it, it did well. It's on its second lap, which is better than a large number of vehicles. However, it is very, very much on the dead side. I think the loss of the rear wing may have hindered a little bit with some of its flights across the jumps as well. At least it was spectacular. You know, you can't fault it for going out in style. So on to our leaderboard, and it is a very good 7th place from the Sunburst hatchback. Becomes the furthest vehicle around on lap 3. It's a hell of a tough car. In fact, these Sunbursts are really proving to be very, very difficult to kill around this particular circuit. In the end, damage to 3 of the 4 wheels meant it too difficult to drive, and ended up across the potholes. Eventually, the engine gave way, but very good showing from a front-wheel drive car. We have to go a little bit further down, but not that much further, to find the other 2 vehicles from today's episode. The DH Outlaw Custom goes into a 16th place, just a fraction further than the VW Scirocco. The Scirocco actually conks out at pretty much an identical place to the Comet. It rolled ever so slightly further forward than the Comet, but very, very similar incidents between the pair of them. The Scirocco actually survived a huge number of hits on the front right. It wasn't the initial impact that actually broke the front right, in that it was a secondary kind of landing that eventually repeated smacks did that damage to the wheel axle. And the DH Outlaw Custom drive shaft, just all of them gave way after a wonky flight. Couldn't get the nose of the car to go up on that one, but there we go. Interesting vehicle, certainly, to drive around this circuit. As ever, I shall link all of the mods used in the description, so you can download them, have a go with them yourself. But that'll be it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.